Alan Garcia couldn't believe his eyes. For 3 nights straight, he sat at his desk in the Arecibo Observatory, staring at the same data. The signal patterns on his screen were unlike anything he had ever encountered, organized, repeating, and clearly not natural. "This can't be right," he muttered, running another analysis program. The results came back the same. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his phone. Dr. Susan Wright answered on the 4th ring, her voice groggy with sleep. "Alan, it's 3 a.m. What's going on?" "I need you to verify something for me," Alan said, trying to keep his voice steady. I think we just received first contact." There was a long pause on the other end. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. By morning, the observatory was buzzing with activity. Susan had confirmed Alan's findings, and now they faced the enormous question of what to do next. Government officials arrived by noon, followed by military personnel who established a secure perimeter around the facility. "The signal is coming from somewhere near Jupiter's orbit," Alan explained to the assembled group of scientists and officials. "It's repeating on a 6-hour cycle, with variations that suggest language rather than merely a beacon." Dr. Catherine Nelson, a renowned linguist, nodded thoughtfully. "If it is language, we need to establish basic communication protocols. Has there been any attempt to respond?" "Not yet," Susan replied. "We wanted authorization first." A tall man in a dark suit introduced himself as Agent Baker from National Security. "No one sends any response without direct approval from the President. Is that clear?" The team worked around the clock. Catherine assembled a team of linguists and mathematicians to decode the message. By the end of the week, they had their first breakthrough. "It's definitely a language," Catherine announced during the daily briefing. "And parts of it are starting to make sense. They're addressing us directly." Dr. William Hayes, an astrophysicist brought in from NASA, leaned forward. "What are they saying?" Catherine displayed her notes on the screen. "As best we can tell, they're introducing themselves as representatives of something called the Galactic Council. They say they've been watching Earth for centuries." The room fell silent. "There's more," Catherine continued. "They want to establish formal contact. They're coming here." 3 weeks later, in a secluded laboratory beneath the Pentagon, William and Catherine presented their findings to President Laura Mitchell. "Madam President, we've been able to establish basic communication," William explained. "They call themselves the Galactic Council, a coalition of spacefaring civilizations. They claim to have monitored Earth's development for over 500 years. And they're coming here. To what end?" the President asked. Catherine stepped forward. "They say they wish to formally welcome humanity into the galactic community. They're sending what they call a diplomatic vessel that will arrive in approximately 4 months. Do we believe them?" President Mitchell's question hung in the air. William exchanged glances with Catherine before answering. "Their technology is clearly advanced beyond ours. If they wanted to harm us, they likely could have done so already. Nevertheless," said General Paul Winters, "we should prepare for all possibilities." As the meeting concluded, William stayed behind, studying the signal patterns once more. Something didn't feel right. The messages were too perfect, too carefully crafted. It was as if they were reading from a script designed to put humans at ease. That night, as he lay awake in his temporary quarters, William couldn't shake the feeling that Earth was about to change forever. The Galactic Council had reached out with promises of peace and cooperation. But why now? And what did they really want from humanity? Outside his window, stars twinkled in the night sky. Somewhere up there, visitors were coming. And William Hayes couldn't decide if that was cause for celebration or concern. 6 months after the first contact, a small silver craft descended from the clouds over Wyoming. It made no sound as it landed in a clearing surrounded by pine trees. Government helicopters circled overhead, while armored vehicles formed a perimeter around the landing site. President Laura Mitchell stood with William Hayes, Catherine Nelson, and a small delegation of world leaders. Despite the warm summer day, many shivered with anticipation. "Remember," the president whispered, "we represent all of humanity today." A seam appeared in the craft's smooth surface, widening into a doorway. Light spilled out, and 3 figures emerged. They were tall and slender with skin that seemed to shimmer with colors like oil on water. Their eyes were large and dark, containing what looked like tiny stars. The one in front stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Zira," she said in perfect English, her voice musical and soothing. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I greet Earth." President Mitchell stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you." The meeting continued in a hastily constructed facility nearby. The aliens sat comfortably in human chairs, seemingly at ease. "We have been watching your civilization develop," Ambassador Zira explained. "Your people have shown remarkable resilience and creativity. The Council believes Earth is ready to join the greater community of intelligent species." "What exactly does joining entail?" President Mitchell asked, maintaining a calm expression despite her racing heart. Ambassador Zira smiled. "Integration into our trading network, protection from cosmic threats, guidance on technological advancement. Earth will be granted Category 3 Protectorate status." "Protectorate?" General Winters asked sharply. "A term of respect," Zira explained smoothly. "New members benefit from the Council's protection while they adjust to galactic standards. We provide scheduled technological assistance to help your development." Catherine studied the aliens carefully. Their words were perfect, too perfect. As a linguist, she noticed they never stumbled or searched for expressions. It was as if they had rehearsed everything. "Your generosity is appreciated," President Mitchell said, "but we would need time to consider such an arrangement." "Of course," Ambassador Zira nodded. "We understand this is a significant change for your people. We will remain in orbit while you discuss. Our advisors can answer any questions." After the meeting, William cornered Catherine in the hallway. "Did you notice anything strange about them?" Catherine nodded. "Their language skills are too perfect. And did you see how they never seemed surprised by anything? It's like they knew exactly what we would say." Later that evening, Major Frank Chambers arrived at William's temporary quarters with a folder marked "Top Secret." "Dr. Hayes, we need to talk," he said, his face grim. "Our orbital satellites captured these images behind the diplomatic vessel." William opened the folder and gasped. The photos showed massive ships hidden on the far side of the moon, with strange equipment that looked like mining machinery. "They're not telling us everything," Frank said quietly. Catherine joined them, bringing her own concerns. "I've analyzed their language patterns more deeply. There are subtle contradictions. They speak of protection, but use terms that imply ownership." "What are you suggesting?" William asked, though he already knew the answer. "I think this Galactic Council isn't inviting us to join them," Catherine said. "I think they want something from Earth, something they're not telling us about." The 3 looked at each other in silence. Outside the window, stars dotted the night sky. Among them, invisible to the naked eye, alien ships waited in orbit. The visitors had arrived with promises of friendship and advancement, but their true intentions remained hidden. "We need more information," William finally said, "before Earth agrees to anything." Frank nodded. "I'll assemble a team. Whatever they're really after, we need to find out. Fast." Major Frank Chambers led William Hayes and Catherine Nelson through a series of security checkpoints deep beneath the Pentagon. They finally entered a room filled with screens and military personnel analyzing data. "Welcome to Operation Guardian," Frank said quietly. "Everything you're about to see is classified at the highest level." He pulled up images on the main screen showing the alien ships in orbit. "These were taken by our stealth satellites. The Council doesn't know we can see these vessels." William leaned closer. "Those look like drilling equipment. And storage containers. Massive ones." "Exactly," Frank nodded grimly. "They're not here just for friendly diplomatic relations." A woman in a lab coat approached with a tablet. "Dr. Hayes, Dr. Nelson, I'm Dr. Julia Rogers, geologist. We've been analyzing the locations where the Council has requested to establish their cultural centers on Earth. She displayed a map showing dozens of points around the globe. Every single location sits above significant deposits of rare Earth minerals. But there's more. She zoomed in on one area. They're particularly interested in locations with unusual electromagnetic properties. Catherine frowned. The linguistic patterns in their communications contain subtle contradictions. When they discuss cultural integration, the subtext suggests something entirely different. We've intercepted communications between their ships. Frank added, our decryption is incomplete, but we've translated enough. He played an audio file with strange musical sounds. Catherine listened intently. They're discussing extraction timetables and something called quantum stabilizer. Dr. Rogers nodded. We believe it's an element or compound unknown to Earth science. Based on their communications, it appears to be crucial for their interstellar travel technology. William paced the room. So they're not here to welcome us to the galactic community. They want to mine our planet. It's worse than that, Frank said, pulling up another file. This is a complete translation of what we believe to be their operational plan. It spans 50 years. The group read in silence. The Council's actual plan was methodical and devastating. Earth would be gradually stripped of this quantum stabilizer, which apparently resided deep in the planet's core. Humans would be given minor technological advancements, just enough to keep them compliant while the Council systematically extracted what they needed. By the time they're finished, Dr. Rogers said quietly, Earth's magnetic field would be critically destabilized. Our planet would become uninhabitable within a century. They'd done this before, Catherine realized, scanning another document. These communications reference other worlds, places called Terulian and Vexor Prime. They describe them as depleted sources. Frank nodded. Our analysts believe those were once inhabited planets. Now they're just hollow rocks. Why the charade? William asked. With their technology, they could simply take what they want by force. That would damage the resource they're after, Dr. Rogers explained. A violent conquest would disrupt the quantum stabilizer. They need us calm and compliant while they slowly drain our world. Catherine leaned back in her chair. So they offer us trinkets, limited technology, protection from threats that probably don't exist, while they prepare to kill our planet. We can't let the president agree to their terms, William said firmly. Frank's expression darkened. There's another problem. Some world leaders are already convinced this is our best opportunity for advancement. The Council has been very persuasive. Then we need to be more persuasive, Catherine replied. And fast. As they left the briefing room, William felt the weight of this knowledge pressing down on him. The Council had presented themselves as benevolent guides, but their true agenda was calculated extinction. Earth wasn't being invited into a galactic community. It was being prepared for harvest. They think we're primitive, William said as they walked. That might be our only advantage. Deep beneath a mountain in Colorado, a secret meeting took place. 23 of Earth's brightest minds gathered around a large round table. Military officers, scientists, diplomats, and engineers had been quietly selected from around the world. Welcome to Project Prometheus, Major Frank Chambers announced. The room was secure, swept for bugs every hour. No electronic devices were allowed inside. Everyone here has been briefed on the true nature of the Galactic Council's visit. William Hayes stood up. We know the Council plans to strip Earth of a substance they call quantum stabilizer. They'll destroy our planet in the process. What they don't know, Catherine Nelson added, is that we've already begun to understand their technology. Dr. Linda Powell, a quantum physicist with 3 Nobel nominations, cleared her throat. They think we're primitive, she said with a slight smile. That's actually good news. They've underestimated our adaptability and ingenuity. Captain Steve Rodriguez, who led the team that had secretly examined the Council's landing craft, nodded in agreement. We've already reverse-engineered components from their ship. Their propulsion system is unlike anything we've seen, but we're making progress. How much time do we have? Asked Dr. Henry Park, an expert in materials science. Frank displayed a timeline on the wall. The Council's first development team arrives in 8 months. That's when they'll begin setting up their mining outposts, disguised as cultural centers and technological exchange facilities. 8 months to develop technology that took them perhaps thousands of years. Dr. Park shook his head. Impossible. Not if we use their own technology against them, Linda replied. We don't need to match them completely. We just need enough leverage to negotiate as equals rather than as victims. The plan they developed was bold. On the surface, Earth's governments would appear to welcome the Council's offers. They would express gratitude for the limited technology being shared and eagerly prepare for integration into galactic society. Meanwhile, Project Prometheus would work around the clock to understand and replicate key alien technologies. They would focus on 3 critical areas: propulsion, energy generation, and defensive systems. We'll need to establish secret facilities, Steve said, pointing to locations on a map. Underground complexes, abandoned mines, underwater bases, places the Council won't think to monitor. What about resources? Asked Elena Vasquez, former head of the World Bank. This will require massive funding. Already arranged, Frank replied. A black budget drawn from every major nation. No paper trail, no digital records. As the meeting continued into the night, the team divided into specialized groups. Linda would lead the quantum physics team. Steve would handle engineering and reverse engineering. Catherine would continue analyzing Council communications for any additional information. William found himself assigned to lead overall strategic coordination. Our biggest advantage is that they have no idea we know their true plans, he told the group. We must maintain that illusion at all costs. 3 days later, work began in secret facilities around the world. In an abandoned salt mine in Kansas, Linda's team studied quantum stabilizer properties. In a hidden base beneath the South Pacific, Steve's engineers built prototypes based on alien technology. During a rare break, William and Catherine stood watching dozens of scientists working in the Colorado facility. Do you think we can really pull this off? Catherine asked quietly. William watched as a test engine glowed with blue energy, running on principles that human science had barely begun to understand a month ago. Look at them, he said, gesturing to the determined faces of the workers. Throughout human history, we faced extinction-level threats, plagues, world wars, climate disasters. Each time, when our backs were against the wall, we didn't just survive. We emerged stronger. Catherine smiled slightly. So yes. Yes. William nodded. The Council has a plan for Earth, but humans have a better one. William Hayes rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the latest test results. After 3 months of non-stop work, Project Prometheus was making progress, but time was running short. The Council representatives visited Earth weekly now, offering small technological gifts while setting up their infrastructure. Dr. Hayes, you need to see this, Dr. Linda Powell called from across the lab. Her voice contained something he hadn't heard in weeks. Excitement. William hurried over to her workstation. She pointed to a brain scan displayed on her monitor. We've been looking in the wrong place, Linda said. The quantum stabilizer isn't just in Earth's core. It's also here. She tapped the image. William squinted. In human brains. Yes, in microscopic amounts. It forms naturally in our neural pathways. Not enough to be useful to them in individual humans, but enough to explain why they're being so careful with us. William finished. They don't want to harm the humans because we're also a source of what they need. This discovery explained the Council's insistence on cultural integration programs and their careful approach. They weren't just after the planet. They were after its people too. Meanwhile, in another section of the facility, Engineer Olivia Chen worked with a small team on a prototype engine. Unlike the Council's massive harvesting equipment, this device was small, barely larger than a microwave oven. "Try it again," Olivia instructed. "Increase the resonance frequency by 0.03. Her assistant made the adjustment, and the device hummed to life. A small sphere of metal floated above it, surrounded by a blue glow. "It's working," the assistant exclaimed. Olivia allowed herself a small smile. "The Council uses quantum stabilizer linearly," she explained to William when he came to check on their progress. "We've found a way to use it exponentially." "What does that mean in practical terms?" William asked. "It means their engines need large amounts of the element. Ours needs just a fraction for the same power output." She pointed to a simulation on her computer. "Their method is like burning a forest to power a city for a day. Ours is like using a few leaves to power it for a month." This breakthrough changed everything. Project Prometheus now focused on building small, efficient ships using their new quantum stabilizer technology. Hidden in abandoned mining facilities, underwater bases, and remote mountain locations, the first human vessels capable of interstellar travel began to take shape. Catherine Nelson continued her work decoding Council communications. One evening, she burst into William's office with a troubled expression. "They're lying about the Category 3 Protectorate status," she said, spreading documents across his desk. "I've analyzed communications between their ships and their home base. Earth isn't being designated as a protectorate. We're classified as a primary resource extraction zone." William examined her translations. "This doesn't match what they've told our leaders at all." "It gets worse," Catherine continued. "They've accelerated their timeline. The first real mining equipment arrives next month, disguised as cultural exchange modules." William immediately called an emergency meeting of Project Prometheus leadership. As the team gathered, he shared Catherine's findings. "We're running out of time," he concluded. "We need to finalize our countermeasures now." Frank Chambers nodded grimly. "Our first 3 ships are nearly ready. They're small, but based on Olivia's breakthrough, they should outperform anything the Council has." "What about weapons?" Steve Rodriguez asked. "We've adapted their energy technology for defensive purposes," Olivia replied. "Nothing aggressive, but enough to protect ourselves if needed." William looked around the room at the tired but determined faces. In just 5 months, they had accomplished what should have taken decades. "The Council expects us to be grateful recipients of their generosity," William said. "They don't expect us to fight back. That's our advantage." The room fell silent as everyone contemplated what lay ahead. The future of Earth depended on what they did next. The day the Council's development team arrived, Earth put on its best face. World leaders gathered in a ceremony broadcast globally. Ambassador Zira stood before cameras, elegant and poised as ever. "Today marks the beginning of Earth's new era," she announced, her melodic voice carrying across the crowd. "Our advisors will help prepare humanity for its role in the galactic community." President Mitchell smiled and shook hands with the alien representatives. Behind her practiced diplomatic expression, she knew the truth. Every leader present had been secretly briefed about Project Prometheus. "We are honored by your guidance," the president said, her words carefully chosen. "We have prepared facilities for your advisors around the world." These facilities had been strategically designed. They appeared to be perfect locations for the Council's hidden agenda, places where they could begin extracting quantum stabilizer. But each contained sophisticated monitoring equipment installed by Project Prometheus. As the Council advisors began setting up their equipment at these sites, William Hayes gathered with Frank Chambers in the Colorado Command Center. "They suspect nothing," Frank confirmed, watching live feeds from the monitoring systems. "All 12 primary sites are now occupied by Council personnel." William nodded. "Then it's time for Operation Eclipse." 3 days later, Commander Nickel Daniels led a small team on humanity's most daring mission, using one of the newly built ships, barely larger than a bus, but powered by Olivia's revolutionary engine. They approached the dark side of the moon, where the Council had established an observation post. Approaching target, Nickel reported back to Mission Control. No signs they've detected us. Their ship, named Raven for its black stealth coating, used a fraction of the energy of Council vessels, making it nearly invisible to alien sensors. The team had trained for months in simulators based on Council technology. Remember, William's voice came through their comms. This is information gathering only. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. Nickel guided the Raven into a crater half a kilometer from the Council base. Her team of 4 exited in suits designed to mask their heat signatures. They moved silently across the lunar surface, using the natural terrain for cover. The Council base was lightly guarded. They clearly didn't expect visitors. Using tools reverse-engineered from Council technology, the team bypassed the security systems and entered through an auxiliary airlock. "We're in," Nickel whispered, moving to central database. Inside, they found only 3 Council members operating the station. All were focused on monitoring Earth, none aware of the human infiltrators moving through their facility. Reaching the central computer hub, Nickel's team specialist, Dr. Eric Daz, connected a device to the alien terminal. Beginning download. Estimated time 4 minutes. Those 4 minutes felt like years. Nickel watched the corridor while Eric worked. Suddenly, a sound. Footsteps approaching. Nickel signaled her team to freeze. A Council member walked past their position without looking in their direction. Once it was gone, Nickel breathed again. "Download complete," Eric finally announced. "I've got everything." The team retreated the way they came, leaving no trace of their presence. Within 30 minutes, they were back aboard the Raven, heading home with the Council's complete database. At Project Prometheus, Catherine worked through the night with her team, translating the stolen data. By morning, she had devastating news. "Earth isn't the first," she told the gathered leaders, her voice heavy. "The Council has done this at least 26 times before. They find worlds with quantum stabilizer deposits, infiltrate the civilization, extract what they need, and move on." William scrolled through the translated documents. "What happens to these worlds afterward?" Catherine's expression darkened. Most became uninhabitable. The populations were relocated as labor resources to Council factory worlds. Images showed once beautiful planets reduced to barren wastelands. Species that had resisted were simply eliminated. "There's something else," Catherine added. "Several civilizations detected the Council's true purpose like we did, but they lacked the technology to resist." Nicole studied the faces around her. "Then we're not just fighting for ourselves," she said quietly. "We're fighting for all those who couldn't." The next morning, William Hayes stood before the emergency meeting of Earth's Security Council. Representatives from every major nation watched as he presented the evidence from the lunar mission. "The Galactic Council isn't what they claim to be," William explained, showing images of devastated worlds. "They're systematic planet miners who have destroyed dozens of civilizations." President Mitchell studied the evidence carefully. "What do you propose we do?" "We can't match their military power." "No," William agreed, "but we can change the game. We request a formal audience with the full Galactic Council." Several officials protested immediately. General Winters stood up. "You want to confront them directly. That's suicide." Catherine Nelson stepped forward. "Not confrontation, revelation, according to their own laws and protocols, which we now have thanks to the lunar database. Any species can request a hearing before the primary chamber. Ambassador Zero won't allow it," someone pointed out. "She can't stop it," Catherine replied. "If we invoke Article 7 of their charter, the primary chamber must hear our petition. Zera is just a field operative. She answers to higher authorities." The plan was bold. Earth would send representatives to the Council's massive station orbiting Jupiter. There, before delegates from all Council species, they would present evidence of the systematic exploitation happening without the knowledge of most Council members. "Many Council species don't know what their leadership is doing," William explained. They believe they're part of a benevolent organization. 3 days later, William and President Mitchell led a small delegation aboard one of Project Prometheus's ships. Ambassador Zera tried to prevent the meeting, claiming Earth wasn't ready for space travel, but the sudden appearance of a human vessel at the Jupiter station made denial impossible. The Council station was enormous, a spinning ring 20 kilometers across. Inside, representatives from 37 spacefaring species had gathered in the primary chamber, curious about what the developing species wished to discuss. William felt small as he entered the vast chamber. Beings of all descriptions filled the tiered seating, some resembling Earth creatures, others utterly alien. "You have invoked the right of petition," announced the High Arbiter, a tall being with crystalline features. "State your purpose." President Mitchell stepped forward. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council, we come before you with grave concerns about the actions being taken in the Council's name." Over the next hour, Earth's delegation presented their evidence. The secret mining operations, the destroyed worlds, the misleading classification of Earth as a resource extraction zone rather than a true protectorate. The chamber erupted in chaos. Many species representatives shouted questions and demands. Several turned accusingly toward the High Council members seated at the center. "These accusations are baseless," declared Councillor Vex, one of the senior leaders. "Earth is simply confused about our benevolent intentions." "Then explain this," William said, projecting images of the previous worlds before and after Council protection. The evidence was damning. A reptilian delegate rose from the middle section. "I have visited rehabilitation worlds supposedly recovering from natural disasters. Are you claiming these were actually mining operations?" "Yes," Catherine confirmed. "The database contains the complete history." More and more delegates began demanding answers. The Council leadership looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Even if this were true," Councillor Vex finally said, his voice cold, "the quantum stabilizer is essential for our civilization. Without it, interstellar travel would collapse." "That brings us to our second purpose here today," President Mitchell said. She nodded to William. William stepped forward. "We came not just to accuse, but to offer an alternative." He unveiled the schematics for Earth's new propulsion technology. The system Olivia Chen had developed that used quantum stabilizer in exponentially smaller amounts. "This engine requires 1/50th the stabilizer of your current technology," William explained, "enough that it can be synthesized without destroying planets." The chamber fell silent as the delegates studied the design. Several technical specialists approached, examining the specifications with growing amazement. This could work," one admitted, their voice carrying through the silent chamber. 2 years passed quickly. William Hayes stood on the observation deck of the Earth ship Endeavour, watching stars streak by outside. The ship was one of 50 now in Earth's growing fleet, all built using the new quantum stabilizer engines. The old Galactic Council no longer existed. After Earth's revelations in the primary chamber, many member species had demanded immediate changes. When the leadership resisted, the Council fractured. A new alliance formed, with Earth as one of its founding members. "Still hard to believe sometimes, isn't it?" said a familiar voice. William turned to see Ambassador Zera approaching. After the confrontation at the primary chamber, she had stunned everyone by defecting to support Earth's cause. Her knowledge of Council operations had proven invaluable during the transition. "What part?" William asked. "That we survived, or that we're now helping other worlds?" "Both," Zera replied, her iridescent skin catching the starlight. "When we first discovered Earth, the assessment team saw just another resource to exploit. We never imagined you would change everything." The Endeavour was on its way to a planet called Nilara, one of the worlds damaged by Council mining operations. Earth scientists had developed methods to restore planetary cores and stabilize magnetic fields. The Endeavour carried equipment that would begin the healing process. "Dr. Hayes to the bridge," came Captain Steve Rodriguez's voice over the intercom. William and Zera made their way through the ship. The crew was a mix of humans and representatives from other Alliance species, all working together. On the bridge, Catherine Nelson was studying data on the main screen. 2 years as Earth's ambassador to the new Galactic Alliance had given her confidence and presence. "We're approaching Nilara," Captain Rodriguez announced. "Preparing for orbit." Through the view screen, William could see the planet below. Large areas of its surface were barren and lifeless, the result of the old Council's mining operations. Life support systems ready for deployment. Olivia Chen reported from the engineering station. Her engine design had made her a celebrated figure across multiple worlds. "Begin the restoration sequence," William ordered. The Endeavour released dozens of small devices that descended to the planet's surface. Each contained genetically engineered microorganisms that would begin the process of rebuilding the soil and atmosphere. Phase 1 deployment successful, Olivia confirmed. Estimated surface habitability in 3 years. William felt a sense of pride watching the operation. Earth had not only saved itself, but was now helping to heal the damage done to other worlds. Later, as the crew celebrated the successful deployment, William found a quiet moment alone with Catherine. "Did you ever think, when we first decoded that alien signal, that we'd end up here?" she asked. William shook his head. "Never. I thought we were witnessing the beginning of the end for Earth. Instead, it was the beginning of something new," Catherine said. "Not just for us, but for everyone." In the following months, more restoration missions launched from Earth. Former Council worlds joined the new alliance, bringing their own knowledge and skills. The quantum stabilizer technology evolved further, becoming even more efficient. On the 1-year anniversary of the new alliance, representatives from 52 worlds gathered on Earth for a celebration. President Mitchell, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance Council, addressed the assembly. "2 years ago, we faced extinction at the hands of those who saw us only as a resource," she said. "Today, we stand together as equals, committed to building a future that benefits all." William watched from the side of the stage, thinking about how close they had come to disaster. The Council had arrived with a carefully crafted plan to strip Earth of its resources. They had underestimated human ingenuity and determination. As the ceremony concluded, Zira approached William once more. "Your species continues to surprise me," she admitted. "When we first discovered Earth, we thought we found another resource to exploit. Instead, we found the catalyst that would transform galactic civilization." William smiled. The Council had a plan for Earth, but humans had a better one. "We didn't just save ourselves. We saved everyone." As the Endeavour prepared for its next mission, Captain Rodriguez gave the order to depart. Earth was no longer alone in the cosmos, and humanity had found its place among the stars, not as subjects, but as partners.